of November 2022. Theme being the Naturopathy and Integrative Medicine. Our first session, we have three guests. I would like to invite Padma Shri Dr. D.R. Karthikeyan, Nandi Krishnamurthy Manjunath, Dr. Naveen K. Vishwaraya onto the dais, please. A huge round of applause for all the three speakers.
Rangoli competition that happened yesterday now. And secondly, all the INO members need to assemble in the Rajkumar auditorium as soon as possible. Thank you. Let's begin. So firstly, we have Padma Shri D.R. Karthikeyan with us. He started his career as a lawyer and later entered the IPS. He held various prestigious positions including Director of Police Academy, Mysore, Chief of Intelligence Security, Karnataka State, Director General of Central Reserve Police, Director of the CBI, and Director General of the National Human Rights Commission. He is currently a visiting professor in many prestigious institutions. Recognizing his meritorious services, Government of India has rewarded and awarded him the Police Medal and the President's Medal for distinguished services. He was the Chief of Special Task Force instituted by Government of India in the Rajiv Gandhi assassination case. He has also authored a bestseller, Triumph of Truth, Rajiv Gandhi Assassination. He was presented the National Award Padma Shri by the President of India for his commendable service to the nation. A warm welcome to you, sir. Working as a Joint Director of Research and Development, S. Vyasa, a deemed to be university recognized by the Ministry of Human Resource Development, Government of India, Bengaluru City in 2006. He has established research laboratories, Anveshana Research Laboratory at S. Vyasa, and published more than 60 publications in peer-reviewed scientific national and international journals. A warm welcome to you, sir. Next, we have Dr. Naveen K. Vishwaraya, BNYS, PhD, DSc, International Research Leadership Fellow, Australian Research Council for Complementary and Integrative Medicine, 2016 to present. He is a visiting professor at University of Technology, Sydney, Australia, 2016 to present. Transdisciplinary University, Bengaluru, 2018 to present. Works as a research professor and co-principal investigator, Center for Excellence, Ministry of Ayush, Government of India. Awarded to SDM College of Naturopathy and Yogic Sciences, Ujjire. He is a member of the WHO Working Group Naturopathy Practice Guidelines 2016 to present, member of the Expert Group World Naturopathic Federation 2016 to present, first ever ICMR Center for Advanced Research in Yoga and Neuroscience 2017 to 2012, founder of the President INYGMA 1994 to 1999 and 2017 to present, first Yoga and Naturopathy physician to be awarded Doctorate of Science, first Yoga and Naturopathy physician to receive Doctorate in Yoga and Psychophysiology PhD 2004, published over 50 research papers and guided 8 doctoral scholars, and established several research labs and trained doctorate scholars. Glad to have you, sir. Now I would request Dr. Manjunath to please come onto the dais and take over.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you all had a wonderful naturopathic lunch.
Manju, take this.
Not so much so that it will take you to sleep. And I'm sure the talks of the day are going to keep you active, and it's going to stimulate your intellectual processes. For today's keynote session, we have two eminent speakers. Both of them are international speakers. Along with that, it's a privilege to have Dr. Karthikeyan ji, who is the man who has initiated the movement of integrative medicine in this country, former director of CBI, but more of spiritually rooted, scientifically oriented, and greatest promoter of traditional medicine in this country. And we will also be requesting Karthikeyan ji to share his thoughts on integrative medicine. To begin with, I invite two of the speakers for today, Dr. John Wardle on the stage, and also Dr. Tina. Let us give them a big round of applause. Two eminent personalities from the field of naturopathic medicine representing the World Naturopathic Federation are here. So it's my privilege to introduce the first speaker of the day, who will be giving the keynote, Dr. Professor John Wardle. Professor John Wardle is the Foundation Director of the National Center for Naturopathic Medicine and Maurice Blackmore Chair of Naturopathic Medicine in Southern Cross University in Australia. In addition, for clinical qualifications in nursing and naturopathic medicine, Dr. John has postgraduate qualifications in public health, law, and health economics, and holds visiting positions at Boston University, University of Washington, and University of Oxford. To his credentials, Dr. John Wardle has little more than 200 academic publications in peer-reviewed international journals. John is a highly accomplished researcher. He works on editorial board of 8 peer-reviewed international academic medical research journals, including as an editor-in-chief of Advances in Integrative Medicine, and is actively involved in research and policy in public health and integrative medicine. Dr. John is also the convener of the Public Health Association of Australia's Special Association of Australia's Research Advisory Committee, and is on the executive of American Public Health Association of Integrative Health Section. He also leads several World Federation of Public Health Associations and World Health Organization initiatives on integrative medicine, and is a deputy chair of the National Health and Medical Research Council Natural Therapies Working Committee. More than anything, Dr. John's association with this country and the naturopathy community of this country goes for much longer period. He is actively involved in networking Indian naturopathy associations with international naturopathy associations through World Naturopathic Federation. It's a privilege to have Dr. John Wardle giving the keynote address today, bringing the components of integrative medicine and primarily looking at how we can use the principles and practice of naturopathic medicine to create a platform for integrative medicine. Request Dr. John Wardle to deliver his keynote address.
Thank you, Dr. Manjunath, for that wonderful introduction, and thank you to my esteemed collaborators on the panel today, and to my esteemed colleagues in naturopathy and soon-to-be colleagues in naturopathy as well. It's truly an inspiring profession, one that I never enjoy less the next day than the previous day. Every day I'm always more excited to be a naturopath and really excited to see the passion is obviously contagious and certainly very, very strong here in India as well. My background is actually in naturopathic practice, as well as in public health. So I'm a professor of public health, and actually that's what I was before I moved to Southern Cross University to start the National Center for Naturopathic Medicine, always a naturopath, but also a professor of public health. And really, there are no two professions that I think are as aligned but not as joined up as they could be. Naturopaths are the ideal public health clinical profession, and the public health profession certainly needs more naturopathic input to gather its aim. So today what I want to talk about is naturopathy's role as an underutilized tool for global health. So I don't need to teach people, in Australia there's a saying, you don't need to teach people how to suck eggs. I don't need to go through this history of naturopathic medicine with you as much as everyone else, but one thing I think that is really important to understand about naturopathy is that it's an old profession. It's an established profession. It's a profession that's actually evolved. Oh. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll try and be closer because I've been told that I'm. Can you hear me now?
Better.
Wonderful, thank you. I won't move. I'm usually very, very passionate when I speak, and I'll try and be a little bit less passionate and a little bit more considerate of letting you all hear me. But as we know, naturopathic medicine is a very old medicine, and it's a medicine that's adapted in many countries and served as an ideal bridge between the traditions, the healing traditions of that country. So we saw Professor Lakshmi, for example, talking about how ancient naturopaths of India have sort of taught the modern naturopaths of India a lot. This is true in the Western Pacific, as it is in Africa, as it is in Australia, where a lot of indigenous traditional healing systems have also been adopted by naturopathic medicine. It's a truly global profession. This is the WNF membership, a little bit old. It does update quite often, but there's no continent in the world that does not have a naturopathic presence. There are certainly naturopathic superpowers where the profession is actually quite present. India, obviously, is one of those. But it is a profession with global reach, and it's one of the few traditional medicine systems that has truly global presence. Chinese medicine has a global presence, but really concentrated in China. Other systems of medicine very concentrated in their home countries. Naturopathy is really the only global traditional medicine system currently. It's a system that treats people of all types, of all ages, of all conditions with a variety of therapies. So ultimately, we're all trying to get nature to restore the body's innate natural healing abilities. And we can do that in a variety of ways. And no traditional medicine system is as flexible as naturopathy. And for good public health, you need to be flexible in your approach. You need to adapt to local systems. It's no good teaching people to take a treatment that is not available in their country, take a treatment that is not culturally accessible in their country. That flexibility of naturopathic practice really does make it an ideal global health traditional medicine profession. And we see that, worldwide. I come from Australia, where naturopathy is largely an outpatient profession. And I think there's a lot that Australia can learn from the Indian model of inpatient naturopathy, and certainly at Southern Cross University, one of our clinical rotations will be an inpatient model to bring some of the wisdom of Indian naturopathic practice to Australia. But we see this all over as well, the different flexibilities in approaches. So if you go to Peru, for example, the naturopathic community there has worked with the Ministry of Health, Salud, to create a variety of different systems of treatment, some of which are core naturopathic treatments, but have also bridged across the divide between other traditional medicines to have a truly integrative approach. And this is what naturopaths do better, I think, than most other traditional medicine professions. We are a truly global integrative medicine practice. And this is what I really love about naturopathy. If we see something that works, we want to collaborate with those other professions. We don't want to dominate, we want to collaborate. And it truly is a really great thing that we actually do see as a core strength of naturopathic medicine. Naturopathy is a translational profession. And what I mean by this is a lot of professions are told by public health researchers such as us that there are certain lifestyle, food as medicine behaviours, behaviours and actually aligning better with the natural approach that we should be doing to encourage better health. And they tell allopathic doctors, this is what we should be encouraging. They tell dietitians, this is what we should be encouraging. They tell physiotherapists, this is what we should be encouraging. Naturopathy is one of the few professions that actually has real evidence of core translational ability. It's not just about the knowledge, it's about that individualized approach, it's about knowing the patient, working with the patient in an individualized setting and actually getting that change happening. And more importantly, teaching, self-educating that patient to actually make that change permanent. And naturopathy truly is one of the most disruptive translational professions out there. A lot of professions say we could do this, we should do this. Naturopaths are actually doing it. And they're really a profession that public health is starting to realize that we should be learning from naturopaths on how we actually make those changes in patients. naturopaths are very well trusted by the patients that they actually see. This is a really core, I think, benefit of naturopaths as well. There's a lot of, certainly in COVID, we saw it, a lot of distrust in medical professions. Naturopaths are one of the most trusted health professions by the patients that actually use them, and are trusted as a source of advice for a variety of conditions. People who do see naturopaths prefer to see naturopaths for most of their conditions. Not exclusively all the time, but naturopaths, naturopathic patients do actually have already a history of integration, and there is actually successful integration of naturopathy with other health professions on a level you don't see in other traditional medicine professions. These sort of inbuilt, I guess, strengths and abilities of the naturopathic profession are the very things governments, public health, other professions are telling us how we should practice. We have here a profession that is doing that practice, and we should be encouraging that integration a lot more. And certainly at a global level, it is something we are seeing a lot of support for. This is the launch of the WHO Global Report on Traditional and Complementary Medicine. Tina, I think you're in this photo too, right? So, launched in Geneva at the WHO Health Assembly. There is a very, very strong interest amongst the global health community led by WHO and the regional offices to integrate traditional professions more. And naturopathy is actually one of the top things on that list, because naturopathy is actually really good at working with local traditional healing systems and translating, serving as that bridge between existing health systems. You know, we're one of the few professions that can actively translate between different systems of medicine. We also see that, you know, traditional medicine systems more generally, naturopathy included, are often the only systems of medicine that are actually used in areas where there is low access to other healthcare services. So I've done a lot of work on the use of naturopathy and yoga by rural communities for a number of reasons. You know, there aren't any other services there, is often the reason we're given. But it's a little bit more complicated than that. It's actually about that preparing people to look after their health a lot more. It's actually about empowering the patients to take a more active role in their healthcare. It's about adapting healthcare to those local patients. So what we see here, and here's another, you know, similar paper of sub-Saharan Africa, where the use of traditional medicine was seen as a thing that countries did if they couldn't find access to, you know, quote unquote real medicine. What we actually find is the more allopathic medicine that actually gets integrated into these communities, the more medical doctors, the more allopathic health services, the more hospitals that get built in these communities, the use of naturopaths actually goes up, not down. So this is not just a preference, a patient preference, but one that's not replacing, one that patients are actually using, because still these other systems of medicine miss out on what the core naturopathic tenets can actually offer those populations. And what we're also seeing is that in areas where there is high use, that use is increasing day on, day out. So I've used some Australian studies here because that's a lot of what I know. We've done this in America. This particular paper is from Australia, but we've done the same in the US and Brazil. It's a common global theme. Every generation that uses naturopathy more than the previous generation. And I think that's a really heartening thing to see. It's not an old medicine. It's not a medicine for old people. It's a medicine that's growing, and the passion for naturopathy is growing. The only thing that's not growing is the government support for integration on the level that the public wants. And that, as a public health profession, is where I'm really trying to, yep, clap. That's a really, I think it's worth a clap. So the government needs to catch up with the people, essentially. You know, if we look at traditional medicines, and naturopathy in particular, look, all the elements are there for traditional and complementary medicine, such as naturopathy and yoga, to address the core, you know, the major causes of global health disease burden. The only thing that's stopping that is that lack of integration. The more we integrate these therapies, the more we integrate naturopathy, the more the burden of disease globally can actually be addressed. And as someone with qualifications in both naturopathy and public health, one thing I really always jump up and down about is the alignment between the way that naturopaths and public health think. In public health, you know, there is no one simple answer. It's a very, very complex, multimodal system. No two communities are the same. Prevention is much better than cure. Getting something that people can actually do naturally is a lot better than forcing an intervention that people don't want onto them. Creating healthy lifestyles saves more money than throwing in truckloads of pharmaceutical medications or other ingestive or hospital therapies. You know, it's not merely the absence of a disease, but a state of complete and well-being, health and well-being, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And this is what I really think that medicine, modern medicine, allopathic medicine, and many traditional systems, apart from naturopathy, often miss. Health is not just going from -1 to 0. It's that positive health model of going from 0 to 1. It's about wellness. It's not just about the absence of disease. And this is where I think naturopathy can ally with public health as real true allies in addressing the global health burden. And if you look at this particular word cloud, comes from a group from the World Federation of Public Health Associations. It includes the complementary medicine special interest groups from Australia, the US, Indonesia, Brazil, South Africa, and China. Anyone from the Indian Public Health Association, please do get in touch. We've been trying to reach out for a while. But as you can see, what is really the core priority area for public health with naturopathy and other traditional medicine systems is collaboration, health literacy, one of the and empowerment. You know, all these things that we do as second nature as naturopaths each and every single day are the things that the public health community want help with to actually engage better health outcomes for all patients. Oh. Okay, so what's the problem? Oh, well, there's a problem. There we go. The problem is not that the solutions aren't there. The problem is we have a solution. It's called naturopathic medicine. We don't have the integration. How do we actually achieve this? I'm sorry, I've got fat fingers. Too much dosa, I think, on this trip. All right, so, you know, one of the things is actually, you know, when we look at traditional medicine integration, if you ask the government what is traditional complementary or integrative medicine, they don't know. This is the list that comes up. You know, it could be vitamins, it could be yoga, it could be Reiki, it could be Scientology, is one answer we had from the United Kingdom, which is a very problematic association. What many government officials do not know is the philosophical underline. Most of them won't know that naturopaths in India, in Australia, in Canada, in the US are doing doctoral level programs. There actually is a trained health workforce out there. Many people will think that they're only weekend courses or not. So educating the government professions and the other health communities is obviously very important. There's a whole host of other issues that we have going on there. You know, there is some transfer into conventional medicine of naturopathic concepts, but then it loses some of that soul. So we've seen this down the bottom here, for example. You know, naturopaths, I see it as a session. It all starts in the gut. And I remember, you know, 25 years ago as a naturopathic student being laughed at for suggesting that maybe fixing the gut symptoms might actually help women with endometriosis. It's now becoming almost core mainstream therapy, but it's actually losing that holistic edge because we're still moving towards now the allopathic community have taken that over, and all the women are getting is that supplement, that medicine that's actually been created that does that one thing and ignores everything else going on in that woman's body. So we do have those issues. The other thing that we actually have on the flip side of that is there actually is a lot that naturopaths can teach other health professions about other health modalities as well. This is a really great article from 120 years ago in The Lancet, talking about the vis medicatrix naturae, you know, the underlying tenet of naturopathy, but actually advising the medical and surgical communities to actually take more notice of that approach as well. So this is a surgical example here. Certainly in Australia, what we're seeing, you know, with that, sometimes surgery is unavoidable, but the patient needs to actually be healthy enough to ensure that side effects don't occur, healthy enough to ensure that healing can be appropriately done, and after the surgery has been done, actually need naturopathic support to actually ensure the best healing processes are completed. And of course, this all comes down to the therapeutic order, and this is, I think, is what really sets apart naturopathy from some of the other traditional medicine systems. Some of the other traditional medicine systems we see, you know, in Chinese medicine during many conditions. I don't know if anyone's been to a Chinese hospital. They're really great places. They're fascinating places. But you might go in there for 5 minutes and you might end up with 50 needles in you, an injection of herbal medicines, a referral for this service, and this service. Naturopathy is one of the few professions that has philosophically inbuilt into it, okay, we might have to do something more invasive later, but let's try and avoid that, let's build the terrain, let's actually start with something low invasive, and if we need to, we have that as an option. So it starts from the lowest invasive, and this is actually, believe it or not, what the WHO is telling all other health professions how they should be practicing. Again, we've already got a profession that's practicing this. We just need to actually instill that. There's no point in actually trying to teach other professions to do what naturopaths are already doing when we have an amazing health workforce out here that's not being tapped to its complete potential. One of the other things that naturopaths have, I think, that's really, really fascinating and can teach us a lot in public health is just how we deal with complexity. No patient is simple. No person is simple. People are what they call complex adaptive systems. Now, this is actually one of our PhD students, Kim Graham. This, believe it or not, is a naturopathic consult for a woman with pelvic pain. You probably can't read that, but what you can actually see, each node there is a different body system, and this is actually mapping how that practitioner is actually working and finding out what's happening in each and every body system. If she went to a general practitioner or a family medicine practitioner, they'd be focusing on one thing, pain. They wouldn't be including, half the time the HPA axis, the HPO axis, the microbiome. This just shows the level of complexity inherent in every single naturopathic consultation. And so, basically what naturopathy and other traditional medicine systems do is they require complex treatments applied in complex ways in complex people. So the simple thing to think about complexity is that the medical community and regulators often hate complexity. So what we have to do is actually remind the importance of that complexity, because again, this is something that the World Health Organization, governments in Australia, we have a self-care agenda, we have a personalized medicine agenda, we have a preventive medicine agenda built on training health practitioners to deal with complexity. Again, we have a profession where that's second nature. We need to be integrating and incorporating that more. And we do see some of this sort of policy issue, this negative assumption coming through in actual policy. This is a wonderful study by Kieran Cooley, who will speak tomorrow, on the benefit of incorporating naturopathic medicine in postal workers. Amazing differences in cardiovascular and low back pain outcomes. Published it in the most prestigious Canadian Medical Association journal. They published the work because they couldn't criticize it. It was so well done and the results were undeniable. But they couldn't help themselves and say, look, naturopaths tend to work, but maybe we should just take what the naturopaths are doing and give it to the medical providers instead, because they were still worried about the naturopathic involvement in that. So this is kind of what we are working against. And, there is a way to go, but there is certainly the results, the benefits are undeniable. The next stage is that advocacy and that selling of the profession. So don't lose faith in your profession. Sometimes, you need to lose faith in your politicians or your medical colleagues that are actually actively holding it down. But the results speak for themselves. So we have the public on board. We have the results on board. The next step is just that integration that we need to work on. And that integration itself is a really positive story as well, because not only does naturopathy work by itself, it also makes other allopathic and other traditional systems work better. So this is some work that we've done with cancer, for example. People who do need chemotherapeutic drugs. Naturopathy can actually lower the use of those drugs. It can actually reduce the side effects of those drugs, and it can reduce the need for people to go on those drugs. We've done a study here in Australia on people who've had to undergo surgical care. They didn't know about naturopathy 20 years ago, so they weren't able to prevent it. But we got them after the surgery, and after a naturopathic program, it reduced remission, it reduced the medication, and it actually enhanced the longevity of the reduction in symptoms as well. So not only does naturopathy work as a standalone system, it makes other systems work better as well. So let's look at policy. So as I said, the global health community is 100% behind the naturopathic profession here. We really need to tap into our allies there as much as we can. This started with the Almirata Declaration, basically instilling the access of traditional systems of medicine as a right in many countries. This includes naturopathy. The WHO Traditional Medicine Strategy did initially start on products, but is now focusing more on practices and that innate right of people to actually access the practices that they, the practices of some of the professions that are actually there. This was followed up by another strategy, and the new strategy is I believe, probably not going to be done this year, but is actually in the timeline for 2024, which means it won't be released until 2025, but the actual timeline is there. One thing I would really like to point out too is the update of the Alma-Ata Declaration, which is the guiding document for global health. Didn't just include traditional medicine, but actually expanded upon that. And one thing I think the naturopathic community should be really proud of is there were 2 traditional medicine systems that were given specific invites to the Alma-Ata Declaration opening: naturopathy and Chinese medicine. So naturopathy was one of only 2 systems of medicine that was actually invited to the document that's going to launch the global health policy community by WHO and all member states for the next 30 years. So as I said, don't doubt, I guess, the desire of the global health community to actually want to work with naturopaths. There's a whole host of work with WHO and the World Intellectual Property Association recognizing the importance of different traditional systems of knowledge. So, that whole idea of what I was talking about, leaky gut being stolen by allopaths and being reduced to a pill. There's a whole host of work with WHO on actually documenting and recognizing those traditional holistic knowledge systems to the extent now that many regulators will actually acknowledge traditional claims as well as pharmaceutical claims and scientific claims for many interventions in health technology assessments. Again, traditional medicine is not only instilled as a health and human right, but also as a cultural right by UNESCO. So there's a whole host of policy initiatives actually supporting the integration of naturopathy as a global health system. And of course, there are well-documented standards for training amongst these professions. Naturopathy is currently in the process of being updated. I understand yoga is going to be launched very, very soon. But naturopathy is one of the few professions actually formally recognized at that World Health Organization level. And I can fully say as Secretary General of the World Naturopathic Federation, who this is our health technology assessment, for example. It's a very thick book. It shows all the good things that naturopaths can do. Every single study in here, we've worked with WHO on. Every single study in here was by a naturopath in a naturopathic setting of a naturopathic intervention. There are thousands of studies in there. Naturopaths are far and away one of the most research active traditional medicine systems out there. They're one of the most supported by the World Health Organization, not just for this wonderful work that we do, not just for the wonderful work that you do with your patients, but because we're one of the few systems of medicine that can actually be dropped anywhere in the world and understand how different patients work, how different traditional medicine systems work. We can talk equally as well with a traditional healer as we can with the specialist at the hospital. Very few professions can actually do that to the same level that naturopaths can. What we're also seeing now is a bit more complexity in how the naturopathic community is actually engaging with research. And I do want to highlight this issue here because it's an issue that's come up in Australia, certainly at least. A lot of naturopathic research is hidden. This is a really good example. This is a lifestyle intervention in polycystic ovarian syndrome, a trial that we did with some colleagues at the University of Western Sydney. It was a naturopathic intervention when it was in the trial registry. To get it published in the journal, we had to remove the word naturopathic and change it with a lifestyle intervention. So there's a lot of research out there that is naturopathic research that's not necessarily labelled as naturopathic research. So that's actually why we published this book in the World Naturopathic Federation. You don't have to buy a book like this. We do have a free PDF on the WNF website. But if you are interested and if you are advocating and you actually want to go to your official or your health service and say, look, there's a heap of evidence that shows including naturopaths and insurance not only reduce costs, it prevents further complications, but it actually improves symptoms as well. We've compiled all that in there as well. So, what we've done here is, naturopathic research is prevalent, it's relevant, but it's largely hidden. A lot of people will read an article, go, that's really incredible. I can't believe this lifestyle intervention worked. I can't believe this dietary intervention worked. And they'll have no idea that it's actually a naturopathic intervention. So again, this is why we're doing work such as this, is to plant the flag and actually claim the work that naturopaths are doing, because it's really great work, and we are teaching people everywhere the great work that we're doing to embrace naturopathy as a system. And again, that's why we published the book in that form. Otherwise it can actually create these issues. These are two issues in the most recent Australian policy development that we've had from that lack of equivalent. Most people will be aware that, yoga is not just a physical exercise. It's pranayama is a very, very incorporated, is a very, very strong component of that, sometimes without the actual physical component. When the government did the review of yoga, it did not include meditation, it did not include pranayama, it only focused on physical asanas. And of course, that does not tell you anywhere near the story that you've got. We've got a wonderful program at our university actually using yoga to treat trauma and anxiety amongst flood victims. It's had incredible results, and I can tell you one thing, if it was yoga as an exercise only, there's no way it would have worked as effectively as it did. It needs to be a holistic system. So where do we go from here? We follow the patient. This is some work, I won't go through much into this, but basically what this says is that the reason people are attracted to naturopathy as a system is because naturopathy is a system that meets their needs in a way that few other traditional systems do. It actually works with the patient, it doesn't work over the patient, it teaches the patient to actually embrace their complexity, not just reduce it. It has strong historical connections because we have had that evolution of naturopathic practice in many countries. So even though I can talk to a naturopath in India as easily as I can talk to a naturopath in Australia or Canada or Spain, we still have actually deep cultural connections with our local communities as well. I've got this patient not wanting to see foreign doctors. One of the things I think naturopaths do really, really well, and why we are so embraced by the global health community, is we work with the communities. We don't just wait for patients to come to us and express what they need when they need it. We actually work with them. We're trying to go out there preventing. We work in community health. We're actually teaching people essentially to not have to come and see us, which is a very different model of way of working that other health professions do actually have. So, there's a whole host of reasons. This is actually, we did this work, but it's relevant to a lot of other works. I just put it up there because it was my work. But it's basically, people inherently want to work with nature. It's part of our, it's an inbuilt desire of everyone to be as close to nature as possible. They want their natural processes to be as close to nature as possible. They don't want to go and have their body overridden by pharmaceuticals if they don't want to. They don't want to, have something surgically removed if they don't want to. There's an inherent desire in us all to be working closely with nature. And naturopaths are the only ones that actually do that and understand that in an inherent way. That preventive nature, we actually work with the patients themselves, and we're actually teaching them to actually look after themselves so they don't have to come back each and every time there is actually a problem. We can teach them self-care exercises, educative exercises. We can work with them across different systems. So, you can actually go, look, if you've got something wrong with your digestive system, you've got period pain, and you've got a sore knee, you can actually work on a complex system like that because people are inherently complex. People don't want to go and just treat one or choose one system. They want to be treated holistically. And of course, one of the other things that I think naturopaths have, and they've done really well, and they've done better than most other professions, is they understand the importance of integrating not just naturopathy with other systems of medicine, but integrating traditional knowledge and science. And I always try and highlight science is incredibly important, traditional knowledge is incredibly important, and there is a really great way to actually integrate both. You just have to be critical about that. So you can define traditional knowledge. It's the same thing. It's the same process as you would for any scientific endeavor. Verifiable sources, or it's just something that someone made up. Oratory knowledge, how do you include that? Sometimes not all knowledge is documented, but there are systems of oratory knowledge that are valid. Sometimes it's contemporized versions. So, we do have a habit of sometimes using floral language. So, leaky gut is something that used to be laughed at sometimes because of its name. But, it's no more funny than saying irritable bowel syndrome. Sometimes it's a language issue at all. But, now we're seeing a whole host of, a better understanding of some of these core naturopathic concepts and how they actually can be translated in knowledge as well. So we don't have to give up tradition if we are working with science. There's a really great critical appraisal and critical application of that as well. And a really good example of that is traditional knowledge and naturopathy are complex, but so is the game of cricket. And we don't need a book as thick as the rules of the game of cricket to understand how something as complex as naturopathy might actually work. So again, this is one thing I'd leave on. We don't have to give up our traditional knowledge. I think we shouldn't lose our soul as a profession, but at the same time, we have enormous opportunities to actually go forth and actually embrace our bridging position as a profession, a bridge between tradition and science, a bridge between traditional practices and modern medicine, and a bridge between different systems of medicine to really make sure that naturopathy is truly the key global health system of medicine moving forward. Thank you. So, in the end, is naturopathy addressing the global disease burden? Probably not at the moment, but that's only because of integration. Could naturopathy address the disease burden? Completely, definitely. All that's needed is just a closer alignment with global health, and certainly as someone in the public health community, that's something that's going to be my passion moving forward, to make sure the great work that each and every person here is actually doing is appropriately recognised by getting as many patients through naturopathic practices as possible. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. John. Now I'd like to invite Dr. Naveen KV to please felicitate Dr. John. KV to please felicitate Mr. John. Now I'd like to request Dr.
Thanks, John, for that wonderful talk. It kept us all very awake despite the good lunch. Now, let me have the pleasure of introducing our second keynote speaker of the conference, Dr. Tina Ayush, somebody who is very familiar to all of us who work with the World Naturopathy Federation. She's been a vice president for international affairs for the Spanish Association of Naturopathy, and been serving in several organizations in most of Europe, in Seika Naturopathy School in Slovenia, and then the Natura class in Malaga in Spain, and she's been conducting TCM courses extensively, and a lecturer at a clean academia, again in Spain, and a founder and full-time practitioner of Clinica Natural in Germany. And Dr. Tina would be talking to us today on naturopathic approaches to non-communicable diseases. This is of relevant to all of us, of course, but particularly for Dr. Ayush to be speaking about this I'm sure we would get a very comprehensive summary of what we've done in World Naturopathy Federation in putting together a voluminous 700-page healthcare technology assessment, which gives us the foundational principles and relevance of naturopathy in NCDS. And I'm sure we will get the glimpse of that.
Kind presentation.
Hi.
Hello,
I'm Dr.
dear
Ida
colleagues,
Loni, President of the World
students,
Naturopathic
and
Federation.
friends of naturopathy. What a great profession, isn't it? If I see here all
Hi,
these
I'm Dr. Ida
people,
Loni,
the future
President
is
of the
great.
World-
We can see that naturopathy is practiced in over 110 countries in all world regions, and India is absolutely one of the leader countries for naturopathy. I'm pleased and honored for the invitation. Many thanks. This is an incredible honor to be in Pune, in the origin of naturopathy, as I have learned these days, where Gandhi has done substantial steps to establish naturopathy. So we have today the topic of non-communicable diseases and naturopathic approach, a real actual topic about which the World Naturopathic Federation has recently published white papers.
Hi,
On
I'm Dr.
non-communicable
Ayush, President
diseases.
of the World Naturopathic Federation. It is our great honor to support the Central Council for Research
And
in
here we
Yoga
have
and
a welcome
Naturopathy,
from the
as
President
you
of the World
organize the first
Naturopathic
International
Federation.
Congress on Naturopathy in India, and as you celebrate the 5th Naturopathy Day. I'm so pleased that the representatives from the WNF are able to attend the Congress and participate in some great talks that are outlined. The naturopathic profession has a tremendous role to play with respect to increasing health literacy, supporting public health, and in the prevention, treatment, and management of non-communicable diseases. India is such a great model for integrative healthcare, and we are so pleased that the Indian Naturopathy and Yoga Graduates Medical Association is part of the WNF. I wish you a great conference, and I look forward to attending in future years. Take care, and we'll chat again soon.
So welcome words from Dr. Ivor Lloyd, the President of the WNF. If we start now the presentation of non-communicable diseases. So the World Health Organization is calling on global leaders to take urgent action on non-communicable diseases, NCDs. According to the WHO, at least 39 million NCD deaths could be averted by 2030 with a package of 21 interventions, including avoid risk factors, especially at cardiovascular diseases, which will be the topic focus today. So NCDs cause nearly 3/4 of deaths worldwide. The COVID-19 pandemic has also further increased the NCD burden by delaying and disrupting care. We all have had our experiences, or personal or with our patients. And in the early months of the pandemic, 75% of countries reported disruption to essential NCDs services because of lockdown restrictions and channeling of resources. So if we see the non-communicable diseases, including cardiovascular diseases, chronic respiratory diseases, cancer, diabetes type 2, mental health, and more, they are often avoidable. So we know the causes and the risk factors. If we study lifestyle counseling in naturopathy, there are many of them avoidable. So from all NCD deaths, cardiovascular take 1 of 3 deaths by cardiovascular diseases. So this is really something important. So the WNF has released these papers due to this urgent health issue, and the topics include hypertension, type 2 diabetes, and mental health, and NCDs in general. These white papers are a great resource when building alliances to other health professionals, to patient groups, like diabetes groups, for example, and to policymakers and government. They are available on the WNF website, worldnaturopathic.org. So if we look at the naturopathic approach, then all treatments are guided by naturopathic philosophies, principles, and theories. And this is something that we found out with the WNF in a survey, that what all unites the naturopathic professionals in all over the world are these roots. It's not going that far. These roots, naturopathic philosophies, principles, and theories. Practice may be a little bit different from world region to world region, also based on education and jurisdictional restrictions, but the roots are common in all over the world. Also, the roots on NCDs. So if we look at the naturopathic principles in practice, over 85% in general have reported they apply these 6 principles, and later the principle well-being and wellness has been added into the survey and reports made globally. This is the framework of naturopathic roots that underpin naturopathic practice. Then we have also seen philosophies and theories taught and practiced all over the world. First of all, vital force, nature cures, and more theories. So we have also the theory of the therapeutic order, vital force and ementories identified in the HTA, in the health technology assessment, as the most common used and taught theories in naturopathic practice. If we look at the assessment and diagnosis, so all assessment and diagnosis have to include the clinical. Metabolic situation is very important. Has a disposition to a special reaction in case of a pathogenic factor. Also NCDs. If we look at all of them, they all have a kind of a relation to cardiovascular diseases, CVD. They all, if we have a person with a cardiovascular disease that is a phlegmatic temperament, we treat them differently to a person that has a choleric temperament and the same cardiovascular disease. So this is important. We see, by the way, the tendency here very good in the pulse. This is all based on Hippocrates, Galen, and then later developed in Europe, and also find its way to Persia and to Asia, where you call it today Unani medicine. So vitality, the healing power of nature, is very important. The vis medicatrix naturae, vital force, all that is energetic force, immune force, emotional force. We need these forces to strengthen, to bring a person better over a special disease, to get over the crisis, old naturopaths said in Germany. Discharge force, very important, eliminatory force. How can I get rid of foreign matter? How Louis Kuhne has named that, foreign matters. So if we see metabolic, if we go more into the functional structure of the body, we have glucose, lipid, protein, and ementories in general. All of them are very strong related to the liver. So we have the liver as a central organ when we address cardiovascular diseases and in general chronic diseases, non-communicable diseases. If we go to the emotional factor, the World Naturopathic Federation has created an own white paper on mental health. I encourage you to look into that. But also stress is very important, hormonal relationships, and, as said, mental health. If we look at the environment is also key when we want to treat the cause of a person with a non-communicable disease, with chronic diseases. We see the environmental health factors on NCDs are caused by a toxic load persons have due to the environment. The World Naturopathic Federation has also launched a campaign informing the public about the environmental risk factors for health, especially on NCDs. This is referenced in the end of the presentation. With pleasure, who would like to have this information can send me an email. In the end, you get the information. So the reference on the website on environmental health is very important for all communicable disease. So social. How is my social environment, my work environment, family? There are stress conditions, mental health conditions, and cardiovascular diseases are related. Domestic, all over toxemia, overload of toxins in the blood. Then we have air-water pollution, climate change. All these factors are important to include in a naturopathic assessment. We are holistic viewers, we are observers. Like also Hippocrates was named one of the best observers for person's health. Lifestyle. I guess there is an own educational course for lifestyle in the future in Australia, isn't it? So this is key to naturopathy and naturopathic practitioners, that they address the lifestyle factors of the person. That includes the cause, healing power of nature, and vital force. So if we strengthen and if we improve the lifestyle factors, we improve vital force. In focusing on nutrition, sleep, exercise. How nice was the cycling and the cyclist this morning? This is so important to lifestyle factor and to all over health. We also see research relations of exercise and microcirculation, improving microcirculation with exercising and relaxation. Then we come to the more specific functional and structural situation, and if we focus on cardiovascular diseases, then heart and lung function is important to look at in the assessment, and the circulatory function. Blood vessels, oxygen, microcirculation, water retention and lymph retention are also very important factors of circulatory disturbance. We have in the end cardiovascular diseases all in the focus. So if we look at cardiovascular diseases as according to the WHO are the reason of most deaths from all NCDs. So if we take a view on the pathomechanism of cardiovascular diseases, including hypertension, then we have this factor here, the vascular endothelial growth factor, which is a very important factor that is most responsible for cardiovascular diseases, for a disturbance of microcirculation. And if we see the left side, then we have especially the lipid metabolism and high cholesterol that causes a more diastolic hypertension because of liquid retention, because of high blood viscosity. And on the right side, we have more the nerval pathomechanism of hypertension, the systolic, when the muscles get more irritated and constrict, because the muscle of a vessel is a ring, circular muscle. So if it constricts, it causes a high systolic blood pressure. So there we know where to address if we go more to mental health, if we go more to metabolic situations, if we have to address more the kidneys as an organ, the lipid metabolism, liver metabolism. We have, in old naturopathic terms, we know a high liver tension. That means a high blood pressure because of liver stagnation, because of plethora, because of the stagnation of the port arteria portalis. If we go a step ahead and look into the role of especially microcirculation, because here is the key where we can get the approach on the treatment, microcirculation. The role of microcirculation, and this is all also referenced and research-based, the role of microcirculation is key when we want to enhance microcirculation. The body will increase oxygen carrying ability and use, increase deliver nutritions, remove metabolic toxins, and support and strengthen the immune system. So this is all what we need in case of cardiovascular diseases, increase microcirculation. With that, we can increase the function of all the tissues. This is why, you all know that, but I just want to mention it here quickly. COVID-19 is more a vascular disease than a pulmonary disease, and people die of oxygen deficiency of the tissues. We can address that if we know that we can address that more specifically. Traditional systems of medicine, such as naturopathy, acknowledge the relationship between blood flow, energy, and vital force. Here we see then the growing factor, which is coming with lipids and with foam cells and with repairing cells, so the volume gets smaller and smaller and smaller. What can we do against this process of arteriosclerosis? There is one factor identified that is the most effective factor to decrease this accumulation of substances in, and this is EPA, the most effective omega-3, and DHA. The both factors in a good marine omega-3 are the key substances to lower risk factor of cardiovascular diseases, myocardial infarct, total coronary heart diseases, cardiovascular diseases. So if we go ahead, then we see the importance of EPA and the anti-aggregatory effect of EPA. We will come later to the factor of EPA in nutrition. So the WNF has published a white paper on hypertension. So we go a little bit more further. Then we have the nature cure model as a very important factor that can address cardiovascular diseases. We have in history the nature cure model representatives and hydrotherapists in Europe who have developed treatments to address cardiovascular diseases. I want to go a little bit, here are the 5 pillars from Kneipp, nature cure model. So you have all have done deep studies on hydrotherapy, nutrition, exercises, balance, herbs. We can use herbs also as wraps or outside applications. If we go to the nutrition, we have omega-3 or EPA and DHA-rich food, which is all over the algae. And the most potent here is chlorella. Then the seeds, the best one is chia seeds, the highest in these EPA and DHA, and linseed oil. Linseed oil all over is very big in omega-3. Eggs also, and all fish oils and special fish. So this is probably the Mediterranean diet. If we look at the ingredients. If we have a quick look into hydrotherapy and microcirculation, we have main contributors of hydrotherapy starting in the 17th and 19th and 18th century, having stated that water mobilizes blood from outside to inside. So they have already mentioned that water therapies are a very good therapy to increase microcirculation, because water is heavy and brings the pressure from outside to inside. So there are some applications I would like to recommend. Dry skin brushes activates vital force and the cardiovascular system in general, provides oxygen and activates microcirculation. This was already recommended by Kneipp, the dry skin brushes. Then we have recommended the baths, hot steam baths. We of course can use a modern hot steam bath as well. We don't have to use these old ones recommended by Louis Kuhne. They also increase the blood circulation and especially eliminate toxins, eliminate foreign matter. Then we have cold water arm baths that reduce heat, and heat is the reason described for hypertension. So the cold water arm bath is recommended by Priesnitz and Kneipp. They can reduce blood pressure because they decrease heat and inflammation and discharge toxins and reduce the pressure in the thorax. Then we have some oils. We can use olive oil, Olea Europea, in different applications, like eating olive oil or using it in nutrition or pulling with olive oil. Then we have evidence-based effects of olive oil is reducing the sugar, is reducing cholesterol and blood pressure. Then we can use garlic in nutrition, which is a reducer of all these factors as well. We have here in modern practice a reference from a book written by Dr. John Wardle. It reduces lipids and glucose. We have here some cases. I have to go a little bit faster because I thought I have 40 minutes, but we need to do it a little bit faster. So here we see heat. The tongue is red. The coat is yellow. Pulse is fast, full, and irregular. So this person had a very high hypertension, gastritis as well, heartburn, morbus Röhmheld, and we did treatments to reduce all these heat situations, discharging toxins, meditation and yoga. You know, as specialists, all how effective is this to decrease here heat. And as said, the cold water arm baths. Another clinical case is the fatigue. So the other extreme, when the tongue is very pale, we have the situation of of anemia, fatigue, and depression, so a cardiovascular disease that is all decreased. So we have to support heart function, support vital and immune force, especially by dry skin brushes or moxa, for example, or we can use warm rubs with moschus or Artemisia vulgaris on the liver. Warm rosmarinous baths or temperature-changing showers. This is a very important recommendation by Kneipp to increase vital force and blood circulation. And one last case. Venous stagnation, liver insufficiency, and this is then the case when the diastolic blood pressure is high. So we have had these treatments. So I thank you for your attention. I hope I could give a little bit of an insight how we work in Europe with naturopathy. I believe it's not very different to how you apply naturopathy. Many thanks and have a great conference.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now I'd like to request Dr. Manjunath NK to please felicitate Dr. Tina Hauser with a token of appreciation and a memento.
Good afternoon, namaskar to all of you. Long day for you. I will not take much time now. Already there are eminent speakers, they have spoken. Dr. John Warder, Dr. Tina Hauser, and also the another eminent professionals here are Dr. Naveen, Medical Director, Yoga Sema, and Dr. Manjunath, Director of Research and Development, SVASA, you know, the most famous Vivekananda University, Yoga University, Bangalore now. Now, after these eminent, I'm a layman. I can't, but accepting my interest, I believe in naturopathy. I believe in integrated medicine. I believe in yoga. And I know what good it can do. It has done to so many people, millions of people now. I will say, just before Mr. Narendra Modi became Prime Minister of India, just a month before he became Prime Minister, I had a long meeting with him in Gandhinagar, that is the capital of Gujarat state. It's a long meeting. But I asked him a question, sir, Chief Minister's job is a full-time job. And you are a man of perfection, you want everything to be done perfectly. Where will you find the time and energy to attend to the duties of the Chief Minister of the state and also campaign as the opposition candidate for the Prime Ministership? At that time, BJP was the opposition party, he was a candidate. I asked him the question straight away. He said, Karthikeyanji, I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Every day, I do 90 minutes of yogasana. You spoke about it, doctor. Pranayama, breathing technique. And dhyana, that is meditation. He said, I do it. I've been doing it from my younger days. So I don't know what fatigue is. Even today, you see, he is one of the most prominent leaders of the world today. From a humble beginning, he became the Prime Minister of India. He has been a leader of this country last 8 years. He is there, global leaders with everybody on equal terms, with confidence, and he will fly all the time, and immediately you go to some hill station where meeting the military people and all that, you don't see him tired at all. You never see him tired, and handling such problems, problems of India, I don't think any country will have so many. But still you appear to be very calm, quiet and dealing with situation. What other thing you need to promote yoga, meditation, and he believes in totally naturopathy, Ayurveda and all that. That's how you see the Ayush department getting enormous support everywhere now. Now we have been wanting the yoga to be accepted by the world from 2002. We had the first conference in Lisbon, Portugal. That master, he said this belongs to the whole world. All the countries should adopt yoga. I'm talking about 22 years back, 2002, I was participating. And great yoga sir, he's a Portugal master, but we didn't succeed. But ultimately when Prime Minister Modi went and addressed the United Nations, and he said it belongs to the world, everybody should. Immediately the world accepted, you know very well, 21st June is followed as World Yoga Day everywhere. So Ayush has become so strong now under this government. Now about naturopathy, because already we have crossed the time, I will not take much time. Dr. Manavalan, is he still here? Manavalan is here. Please raise your hand, please get up. See, this gentleman, don't listen to me. Please take it seriously and you can investigate him. 500 patients were treated, COVID patients, in his naturopathy hospital. Only by naturopathy he cured all of them. Nobody died. And nobody suffers in after effects. What other proof? Living proof. Catch hold of him. You go and investigate if you want. I am making a declaration on a public platform. 500 people who had treated COVID patients. I am not undermining other systems of medicine. But we have no access. People cannot afford it. 50% of the population cannot think of going into a corporate hospital today. You know what happened? There were no beds. With money, with influence, there were no beds. And even those who went, not everybody recovered. And who recovered also had to pay 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs, 30 lakhs. Or the bodies came out, still they had to pay the 10 lakhs and all that. Here, hardly any expenses. He proved it works. No statements. He said recorded evidence is there. Then I wrote to Honorable Prime Minister of India. I was in Coimbatore. Sir, we can regain lost credibility by encouraging our systems of naturopathy, Ayurveda, Siddha. They're all our traditional medicines of placed thousands of years back, based on herbs and all that. Then it was good enough. It was referred to MIT-ADT, highest body, and I met the top people there. Please encourage. We are not against any system. We are not talking about traditional system, alternate system. I am talking about integrative medicine. Every system has its own place, has its own value, its own virtue. People who have a lot of money, they want to go only, let them go. But half the population, not only in India, all over the world, cannot afford this treatment. People are dying like flies. It's a fact of life. Not only here, everywhere. I got document letters from top people coming from, writing from Washington, New York. People are dying like flies. They are going from straight away to the crematorium. We cannot even see them and all that. So my appeal to you, ladies and gentlemen, all of you are enthusiasts, promote it. Don't be on the defensive. Don't think you are asking for a favor. You are asking for, they asked me, Niti Oyo, Dr. Vinod Paul, member of health, Mr. Karthikeyan, you have done a distinguished service in the CBI and police. Why are you after this? I said, sir, I don't want anyone to die without treatment. I don't want anyone to die without treatment. Everybody has to die ultimately. That as nature we have to go. But I don't want people to die like flies without treatment. So I only want to say, quote, okay, who is the father of the medicine? Hippocrates. Who is the first advocate of naturopathic medicine? Hippocrates. That is fact, it's history. Okay, before the term existed, naturopathy has the roots in the 19th century natural cure movement and all that. So the practice of naturopathy is based on a belief in the body's ability to heal itself through a special vital energy or force. Just now, both the doctors, eminent scientists are mentioning about it. The vitality, natural methods, all there. There is a growing awareness today about health and fitness among the masses. Large sections of health conscious people have started reviewing and questioning the modern lifestyle. She was telling me, see, we are all created by the divine to lead a healthy life till the time comes for us to go, because everybody has to go. But it is because of our wrong ways of living. We acquire diseases, and if we correct the lifestyle, correct way of living, we can cure diseases. That's what naturopathy says. That's what all these masters are telling. We know very well, Vivekananda Yoga University, eminent Dr. Nagendra, he has been working throughout his life how yoga alone can cure diabetes and many diseases. Now, Dr. Millie is here from, through also the doctor here, the Institute of Natural Medicine. He says by IV ozone, IV vitamin C, and these products, I have seen people getting cured of COVID and even cancer. So these are all, now recently a German doctor came and talked about laser therapy. So why try? What about our own Ayurvedic system? Time honored. Even today, more than 50% of the population around the world are living on traditional medicine because they can't afford this. And we had a conference the other day, a few years back in Bangalore with College of Medicine, London sponsored. They said we have come to the end of the modern medicine. They said these antibiotics do not work. Ladies and gentlemen, we need all systems of medicine. I would say Ayush, I would say allopathy, Ayurveda, Ayush. Allopathy, Ayurveda and all that. I take allopathy as an essential part, but don't stop with that. Please allow people to practice other systems, proved systems. Proven system, not theory only. And I can go on and on, but I know we are supposed to close this session at 3:30. I think we are nearly going to be more than nearly 4 o'clock. Some other time we will talk. You are fortunate. You are wise enough to believe in Ayurveda. Keep it up. Practice with conviction. Don't get disheartened by these people criticizing and all that. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you so much to all these speakers and the chairperson. Before we end the session 1, we'd like to felicitate all our chairpersons with a token of appreciation. For that, I would like to invite Dr. Srinivas Berry to felicitate Dr. Naveen KV. Next, I'd like to invite Dr. Mohin Rao to felicitate Dr. Karthikeyan. I'd like to invite Dr. Mohin Rao on stage, please. Thank you so much, sir. Next, we'd like to invite Dr. Manavalan to felicitate Dr. Manjunath NK. Thank you so much. Would request all the speakers and chairpersons. Thank you. We are here at the end of session 1, so would request all the speakers and the chairperson to please off the stage. All of you, please drink a little water and energize yourself for session 2. We'd shortly be starting the session 2.